Hello, I'm the Doctor. Welcome to DoctorGeek. Today, we're doing a recap and review of Series 11, Episode 9. It Takes You Away. We open in a fjord in Norway, which the Doctor confirms by tasting the soil, and after making sure that they have not arrived during the Woolly Rebellion of the year 2211, the TARDIS team decides to walk down to a cottage that they can see that, despite being in the winter, has no smoke coming from its chimney. When they reach the cottage, they find it's been completely boarded up and looks abandoned, but Ryan spots movement from the inside, and the Doctor decides to put their minds to rest and uses her sonic to open the locks on the door, of which there are many. As they explore the house, Ryan opens an upstairs cupboard and finds a young girl hiding inside, who introduces herself as Hannah. As they talk to Hannah, with Graham giving her his sandwich, she tells them that her father was defending their cottage from something in the woods, but had somehow got inside and took him. And as Hannah asks them to help her find her father, the Doctor realizes that she is blind. As Hannah explains where and when she last heard the monster, Ryan asks her how she can be so sure that her father didn't just leave her, showing off his distrust of parental figures due to his relationship with his own father. But Hannah is very offended by the suggestion, and she says that her father would never leave her. She tells them that they moved here from Oslo after her mother died, and that her father's boat is still by the water, so she knows that he has not left her. But soon, an alarm goes off on her watch, and she tells them that the monster will soon be coming out to hunt. As Yaz and Ryan inspect the shed, they find it full of bear traps. But suddenly, a terrifying roar fills the forest, and they run back to the house with Graham and the Doctor. Graham goes upstairs to take a look out from Hannah's father's bedroom, but while he's up there, he notices a mirror that doesn't show his reflection. And soon, Ryan joins him, equally confused. As Graham touches the mirror, it begins to react, but soon the Doctor joins them and puts a stop to it. However, her curiosity gets the better of her, and she too touches the mirror, discovering that it's a portal to another world, and she briefly pushes herself through it before quickly coming back. As Hannah and Yaz join them, the Doctor decides to go through the portal along with Graham and Yaz. And although Hannah wants to join as well, the Doctor tells her it's not safe, and she leaves Ryan behind to protect her, which neither Hannah nor Ryan are happy about. Telling Hannah that she's making a map of the house's weak spots, the Doctor writes a message on the wall for Ryan that says, "Assume her dad is dead. Keep her safe. Find out who else can take care of her." And with that, the Doctor, Graham, and Yaz step through the mirror, leaving Ryan and Hannah behind. Inside the portal, they find themselves in a dark and creepy cave, and the Doctor uses some string to tether them to the portal so they don't get lost. They soon come across an alien creature named Ribbons in the tunnels, devouring a bird, and after first threatening them, he tells them that he knows where Hannah's father Eric went, and he agrees to show them in return for the Doctor's sonic screwdriver, which she tentatively agrees to give him provided he fulfills his side of the bargain. And with that, Ribbons gives them his lantern and begins to lead the way. Meanwhile, back at the cottage, Ryan and Hannah are having a hard time getting along, and Hannah is suspicious of the Doctor's note, knowing that it's not really a map. As she angrily tells Ryan that she wants to go into the mirror, he reacts by grabbing her and pulling her outside of the bedroom, locking the door to prevent her from going in after them. Hearing the monster outside again, Ryan decides to investigate, and he finds a wire leading to a speaker outside that is continuously playing the monster's roar. This means that just as Ryan originally thought, this whole thing has been a trick by Hannah's father. However, as Ryan comes back inside to tell Hannah what he's found, she uses the door to knock him out, and she takes the key to her father's bedroom. Back in the portal, Ribbons reveals that he has cut the string that the Doctor was using to find her way back to the portal, and he demands to renegotiate their deal, threatening Graham in the process. However, his lantern is quickly approached by a flesh moth, which is capable of stripping the meat off of their bones in an instant. And despite his best efforts, the moth refuses to be lured away with meat. Ribbons tells the Doctor that they are in an anti-zone, which does not make her happy, as it seems that an anti-zone is something that the universe makes whenever the fabric of space-time is threatened, kind of like a protective buffer zone, which apparently Ribbons and the flesh moths are a part of. As more flesh moths approach and their lantern goes out, Ribbons grabs the Doctor's sonic screwdriver and makes a run for it, but he is soon devoured by the flesh moths, and the Doctor takes back her sonic as she, Graham, and Yaz make their way towards a source of light, which turns out to be another portal. However, as they make their way through it, they notice that while they're back in Hana's house, everything inside the room has changed position, and despite its appearance, they don't think that they're in the same place they were before. As they go downstairs, they strangely come across Hana's father, Eric, acting as if nothing is wrong, and after startling him, the Doctor demands answers, chastising him for leaving his daughter behind, and they soon become even angrier after he admits to faking the monster to ensure that Hana didn't go wandering away while he was gone. But soon, much to their confusion, they are joined by Eric's wife and Hana's mother, Trina, who tells them that while she remembers dying, for some reason, in this world, she's still alive. Despite Eric's desire to stay with his lost wife, the Doctor and friends are insistent that he return with them, so that he can be there for his abandoned daughter. But they are stunned when Trina asks them if they want to see their friend, who arrived at the same time that they did. And going outside, they find Grace, happily singing to herself in the backyard. And as Graham approaches his late wife, he is full of conflicting emotions. Meanwhile, Hana has made her way through the mirror and into the anti-zone, and as she stumbles upon the body of Ribbons, Ryan finds her and uses the lantern discarded by Ribbons to try and lead her to safety. Hana asks Ryan to describe their surroundings, but Ryan lies to her, telling her that it's a nice cave that they're in. But when she angrily asks him to tell her the truth, he lets her know that the monster sounds were just recordings, and that her dad is the one that's truly been lying to her. Graham won't let himself believe that Grace is really back, and he asks her to tell him everything she knows about the frog necklace that he wears. She tells him that it belonged to her because she loves frogs, and it was given to her as a gift by Graham, which is why he wears it now. This is of course the right answer, but still, Graham struggles to believe his wife could really be back. As the Doctor and Yaz think over their situation, they put together what they know, that there is a copy of their world on the other side of a portal, with an anti-zone in the middle, protecting it from ever touching their world. That in turn means that this world must be dangerous, and in trying to think of what could even have the power to create a world like this, the Doctor makes a horrifying realization. This is the Solitract of Gallifreyan mythology. It turns out that the Doctor grew up hearing stories from her grandmother, her fifth one to be exact, that in the beginning of the universe, before time itself, a conscious energy known as the Solitract, completely without meaning to, somehow prevented the pieces of their universe from properly fitting together. So, to compensate for this, the universe managed to exile the Solitract to a separate unreachable existence known as the Solitract Plane, which allowed our universe to flourish. But now it seems that the Solitract is reaching out to their universe, and that's what they find themselves inside now. A separate, exiled universe that is also a consciousness. Yeah, this episode takes quite a turn. Realizing that this is more than likely a trap that they found themselves in, the Doctor and Yaz determine that they must leave at once. But Graham has finally accepted that Grace is real, and much like Eric, he refuses to let her go. The Doctor struggles to get the portal open once again, due to the Solitract adapting to her screwdriver. But after Yaz tells her to try reversing the polarity, she manages to get it open once more for a short time. However, Graham and Eric are refusing to leave, and meanwhile, in the anti-zone, Ryan and Hannah are being chased by the flesh moths. And as the Doctor struggles to keep the portal open, Hannah runs through, and the portal closes again, leaving Ryan stranded inside. As Hannah reunites with her dad, she is reintroduced to her mother, but Hannah can tell that whatever this is, it's not her mother. And as the world begins to crumble around them, the Doctor realizes that there are too many people in the Solitract plane and it's becoming unstable. So she pleads with Graham and Eric to understand that Grace and Trina are just Solitract energy trying to keep them here, as the Solitract is desperate for a piece of the real universe to stay inside of it and be loved by. As the fake Grace tries to convince Graham to stay, Yaz angrily confronts her, telling her that the real Grace would be the first person through the portal. And in response, Trina expels Yaz from the Solitract plane and back into the Anti-Zone, where she reunites with Ryan. Eric tries to convince Hannah to stay with him and Trina in this new world, telling her that he wouldn't ask her to stay if it wasn't safe. But she tells him that he's wrong, and that he hasn't been well since the real Trina died. With that, she confronts the Solitract Trina, telling her that she hates her, and she too gets expelled back into the Anti-Zone. Now that they know the secret to escaping the Solitract plane, the Doctor begs Graham to reject Grace, but he can't do it, as he still feels guilty for her death. But realizing that this version of Grace seems unconcerned with the danger that Ryan is currently facing in the Anti-Zone, he finally understands that she's not his wife, and he sadly rejects her, winding up in the Anti-Zone. With only Eric left to convince, the Doctor changes her strategy, and instead of appealing to him, she tells the Solitract that it can only keep one of them inside of it without risking its own destruction. And she's seen more, loved more, and lost more than Eric, who is just an idiot with a daughter who needs him. And as Eric can see on Trina's face that she's going to take the Doctor's offer, he finally understands that she's not his wife, and she expels him, leaving only the Doctor in the Solitract plane. With the world still crumbling around them, the Doctor tells the Solitract that it can stop its impersonations, and suddenly, the Doctor is transported to a heavenly white world, and she comes across a frog in a chair that speaks to her with Grace's voice. It turns out that the Solitract's form is endless, and this form in particular delights it, as it once delighted Grace. The Solitract asks the Doctor to describe the universe to her, and she says that it was really big and incredibly beautiful, and she sadly realizes that she has just said goodbye to it, as well as to all of her friends. The Solitract tells her that they can be friends, and the Doctor happily accepts its friendship. But suddenly, the Doctor's form begins to vibrate uncontrollably, as she is still becoming destabilized in this universe. And she tells the Solitract that her being here will destroy both of them, and real friends are honest with each other about their problems. The Doctor is upset at having so little time to get to know the Solitract, as it's the maddest, most beautiful thing she's ever experienced. But for the sake of them both, and for their friendship, she has to leave. And the Solitract eventually understands, and it sadly expels her. Finding herself in the Anti-Zone, the Doctor rejoins her companions as they all make it back through the portal, and upon returning to the cottage, the mirror shatters. Asking if they are safe, the Doctor assures them that they are, but she expresses sadness at losing a new friend. And Eric, upon seeing the note that the Doctor left on the wall, hugs his daughter, and hopefully realizes how much of an idiot he was for what he put her through. Later, as they prepare to leave, Eric tells them that he plans on moving them both back to Oslo, and Hannah hugs Ryan goodbye. As they prepare to enter the TARDIS, Ryan and Graham have a heart-to-heart, and talk about how much they both miss Grace, and they seem to finally put an end to their strange feud, as after telling Graham that they'll always have each other, Ryan finally calls him Granddad, and with that, a slightly happier Graham follows him into the TARDIS. And now, before my review, here were the best lines from It Takes You Away.
It's only 2018. I thought we'd leapt into the Woolly Rebellion. Utter bloodbath. But 25 miles away, there's an alpaca farm. And gift shop.
There's a child in this house.
Or some maniac that collects kids' shoes.
We'd know if we were vampires, right?
Can I just say, I love me Sonic. To another world, or dimension, or who knows what. But let me tell you, it really messes you up.
Do you think it's safe?
I doubt it. It's a jittering dimensional portal in a mirror in a Norwegian bedroom. Let him go, because you do not want those words to be your last ones. Put that down. Long day. Flesh moths and anti-zones.
I'm gonna hit him.
No, you're not. I am.
Nobody's gonna hit anyone. I've told you about the solar tract, right?
Literally never heard the word before.
She's not your wife. She's furniture with a pulse. Collapsing two realities and impersonating your dead wife. Time to move on, mate. I've lived longer, seen more, loved more, and lost more. You are the maddest, most beautiful thing I've ever experienced, and I haven't even scratched the surface. Oh, thrown by a frog. Brilliant. I see the sheep have moved on, probably off plotting.
Okay, so talk about a strange episode of Doctor Who. This episode is probably going to be the one that we talk about for years to come when we think of Series 11. And for good reason, as it tried to do a lot in its short time frame. In fact, I think if this had been a two-parter, it would have easily gone down as one of the most epic storylines of all time. This episode is really broken down into 3 distinct parts. In part 1, it starts off like any Doctor Who story, with a cabin in the woods, a monster lurking outdoors, and a young girl in need of assistance. But soon, it enters into part 2, which features the twists of the portal and introduces the anti-zone, the flesh moths, and ribbons. And I kind of want to just analyze the episode from the standpoint of the first 2 parts before moving on to the strange third act. Up through the first half of this episode, it seems like a fairly straightforward Doctor Who story. And Ellie Walwork as Hannah, while not amazing, did a good job of setting the stage for our characters, as she's one of the only side characters for the majority of this episode. And kudos to her for being the first blind actress on Doctor Who. The friction between Hannah and Ryan was one of the best parts of this episode for me, because it was one of the first believable storylines that Ryan has gotten all series. With his forced feud with Graham taking up the majority of his character development, added with his alleged disabilities that come and go depending on the week, and his father issues with a man that we've never met, Ryan's abandonment issues, and his confidence in his belief that Hannah's father ran out on her just like his ran out on him, really helped to make him feel like a real person with real issues, which is what they've been aiming for this whole series. And the fact that Ryan ends up being right in the end makes it even better, as he's only reaffirming his life lesson that people run out on you. So Ryan definitely had the best episode of the companions in my opinion. Although I do have to say that, while he may have been right, thinking that a blind girl could be lying when the whole house that she's in is literally boarded up seemed a little ridiculous. But since it's Ryan, I didn't find it unbelievable that he would still accuse her. However, it is a stretch to even consider that this guy Eric would go to such great lengths to deceive his daughter. Like, he could have just made up a story and said that he'll be back in a few days. The boards and the locks and the fake monster, like, what a crazy person. Sure, Ryan was right, but there's really no reason that he should have been. And honestly, it's kind of annoying that they don't give Hannah's father more crap for his batshit crazy plan. Once we make our way into the anti-zone, and the episode enters into its second act, the action ramps up as we meet the strange Ribbons, played by Kevin Eldon. And while he's criminally underused, only really being put in the episode to quickly die, he was one of the best looking aliens that we've seen in the Chibnall era, and I wish we got to see more of stuff like that this series. As for the flesh moths, They too are an interesting addition, and they certainly don't help to make moths any more appealing. But much like ribbons, they are underused given the amount of attention that they receive for a large part of the middle of this episode. And it seems like once they kill ribbons, something that they really only do to demonstrate how lethal they really are, they never seem to bother anyone again, as Ryan and Hannah apparently have the ability to outrun them when Ribbons, who lived in these caves, was caught in about half a second. Now, if this had been a normal episode of Doctor Who, these little things wouldn't matter too much. But as we know, this was anything but a normal episode. And as we come out of the anti-zone and into the Salatract plane, things kind of jump off the deep end. Now, don't get me wrong, I really liked this ending. In fact, I really wish that this story had been a two-parter, as the Doctor and friends coming into this new world and finding Grace alive would have made a perfect cliffhanger to an episode that we thought was about a monster in the woods. And its conclusion in its second episode could have explored the Salatract and its plane in far more detail. But instead, we rushed through the Salatract realm, as well as the explanation for what the Salatract really even is, as the exposition scene where the Doctor explains what her grandmother's bedtime story was is easily the worst part of the episode. And once the Doctor is the only person left in the Salatract plane, she manages to escape it in less than 2 minutes. In fact, it's so short that even the Doctor is upset that she has so little time with the Salatract. And I just feel like if you're going to introduce something to Doctor Who that's that strange and that ancient and that bold, not to mention having the Doctor willfully give up her place in the great big beautiful universe that she loves so much, and dwelling on how sad that makes her, you can't just undo it in less time than it takes to make some toast. It just completely undercut the sacrifice that we'd just seen her make. And having an extra episode to really delve into the Salatract and have the Doctor get to know it and really develop a true friendship with it, and then have her realize that she can't stay, that to me would have been far more compelling. As a result, the great first half of this episode almost feels wasted because none of it really mattered in the second half. And it winds up feeling like the writers couldn't decide on which storyline to go with, so they just mixed two separate ones together. And all of this is really just a side effect of this shortened 10-episode series, as this is the only series besides Series 7, 11's last series, to not feature a 2-part episode. And that season was spread out over 2 years and included multiple specials, so it's hard to even compare. I feel like the storytelling has really suffered from a lack of extended stories to really flesh out these characters. Having that said though, there really is a lot to like about this episode, and you have to commend the writers for going out on a limb and really trying to do something fresh and different. The themes of acceptance and inclusion, of sadness and isolation, really encapsulate everything that this series and this Doctor are really trying to stand for. This story, while not written by Chibnall, felt the most true to what seems to be his mission with Doctor Who, of exploring new places and new ideas as Doctor Who embarks on a new era. And I hope we continue to get fresh and original stories like this in the future. Honestly, this really almost felt like a series finale, and I'll again complain that it should have been, as a 2-parter would have done this episode a world of good, and it would have made for quite the epic conclusion as the Doctor struggled to escape the Salatract's plane. But I digress. As an added bonus this week, we finally put an end to the awkward Graham and Ryan feud that never made much sense in the first place. And Bradley Walsh once again delivers a stunningly emotional performance as he continues to grieve over Grace. Honestly, Bradley Walsh has got to be the best actor to ever play a companion, possibly in the entire run of the show. And watching him interact with Sharon Clarke again was really nice to see. I'm glad that they've continued to find ways to get her character back into the series this year, as she's actually ended up having exactly the kind of role we all thought she was going to have before the series premiered, but just in a different way than we were expecting. Sadly, Yaz once again wins the award for Most Underused Companion, as she regularly does this series. But at this point, there isn't really much more I can say to complain about it. And as for Eric and Trina, played by Christian Rubeck and Lisa Stuke, I really don't have too much to say about them, honestly, as they didn't have that large of a role in this episode. So, for a weird, wonderful, beautiful, memorable episode of Doctor Who that threw a lot at us, including a talking godlike frog from Gallifreyan mythology that rules its own pocket universe from a chair in a white room, I give It Takes You Away 8 frog gods out of 10. So, that was my recap and review for Series 11, Episode 9. Don't forget to like and subscribe for new videos every week, and ring the bell so you don't miss a thing. Let me know in the comments what your favorite part of the episode was, and leave me some ideas for videos that you'd like to see in the future. We've got less than a week left of Series 11, and I've got some special videos planned for the occasion, so be sure to keep an eye out for those. And as always, thank you for being my companions on this journey today. I'm the Doctor. Bye for now.